Possession. Dominic Moore in front. They score. Marty St. Louis.
Marty St. Louis. Just like except for Nash, is like the midget line.
Shot. Redirected. Score. Game 7. Martin St. Louis. We are going back to Tampa Bay. Don't want no short people. Don't need money. Don't take fame. In comes Tavares. Walks in. He scores. Tavares again.
The New York Islanders. Just look at them. They could make the playoffs easily. John Tavares is looking like a promising superstar in the NHL. I'd say he's top 3, one of the best players in the NHL. New York Islanders. Do I think they're going to win a cup? Absolutely not. No question they're not going to. But who am I? I'm just a Irish kid who plays bagpipes.
Just when you think they're about to break apart,
ducks fly together.
When the wind blows hard and the sky is black,
ducks fly together.
And when the roosters are crowing and the cows are spinning circles in the pasture.
You know how fast you're going?
About 55.
Where are you headed at such an appropriate speed?
Across the country to enhance the nation's most reliable 4G LTE network.
From Savard. Backhander. He scores. Ovechkin scores. They're number 50. Spinorama scores. Patrick Kane. Wide shoot scores. He scores. Mark Stahl on the power play.
Welcome to Iona College, Center Ice with Patrick McCormack. That was my opening promo. Pretty much the first time I've pretty much ever done that. Thanks, Mike DeMurgis, for helping me make that. That was pretty good. So, I'm going to try to make that happen every time. Now 4:15 to 5:15. Iona College Center Ice with your boy Patrick McCormack. A lot to discuss the past couple of days. Unfortunately, I still am a little bit sick, so if my voice cracks or anything, forgive me. I don't want to make anyone's eardrums bleed, but that's what's going to have to happen. Discussing a few issues from the past couple of weeks. The Rangers, their up and down performance the past couple of days. The possibility of salary, no salary cap increases. Very interesting. I want to see how the NHL will take this, how different teams will take this, what teams will be affected. Other issues determining what teams are hot, who are the best players so far. The NHL just came out with their top 10 rankings, power rankings, so we'll discuss a little bit about that. And then very interesting topic I want to catch up on, the Nashville Predators and the Calgary Flames. Are they for real? If so, which team has a better chance to go to the playoffs? I'll push my opinion about that. So far, I'll bring it up with the salary cap increases. New York Post Larry Brooks states that the NHL may not be able to increase the salary cap for 2015-2016. As anyone knows, the salary cap is the highest it could possibly go is at $69 million. Kind of tough. I think one of the biggest reasons is the diminishing value of the Canadian dollar. I think as a result, a lot of investors and a lot of GMs who are based in Canada do struggle with having to pay that much money if the Canadian dollar isn't as valuable as it once was. So it remains at $69 million. There are a few teams who really, really can struggle from this happening. One is the Chicago Blackhawks. They have $65.7 million invested in 15 players. That involves Jonathan Taves, Corey Crawford, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, Michael Roosevelt. The list just keeps on going on. So you look at next season, they're probably going to re-sign Marcus Kruger, definitely Brendan Saad. That'll take up the rest of the $3 million space left in that salary cap. Taves, Kane, Crawford, and Keith, they'll be fine. Their contract doesn't expire for another couple of years. Marian Hossa's heavy contract kind of weighs the Blackhawks a little bit down, even though I'm not disrespecting Marian Hossa, one of the best Slovakian hockey players ever play the game, if not the greatest. Does have a pretty tough contract with the Chicago Blackhawks, so that kind of takes a big hit in their salary cap. And then you look at players that they need to sign. Brad Richards, Johnny Oduya, Michael Roosevelt, Peter Regan, Dan Carcillo. Patrick Sharp's contract is going to end soon. Brian Bickle, Christopher Stieg. Especially you look at Patrick Sharp, and his salary takes up so much of the cap that you look, Patrick Sharp, Brian Bickle, and Christopher Stieg, very, very valuable trade commodities. You look at Brian Bickle, very hard worker, good grinding type of player for the Blackhawks. And then you look at Christopher Stieg, especially in the 2010 run for the Blackhawks. Seriously had some serious skill. Played really well against the Flyers. He has the experience in the playoffs. Has a good set of mittens. He can score. He can pull off some dangles. And you look at Patrick Sharp, and we all know he's a great scorer. 30 goal scorer, perennial 30-20 goal scorer. Possibly could go even to the 40s. Could be a really good first liner for any team. So that could kind of clear some space for the Blackhawks. Not asking what they're going to get back, and that will take us some salary space. But the most interesting and I think crucial part of next offseason is the big risk in losing Brent Seabrook, where he has $5.83 million left on his contract. But I think after this year, especially since his contract expires, he's expecting a big salary raise, which I think he deserves. Brent Seabrook has been a very reliable player for the Chicago Blackhawks, considered one of the core players that were built around the Chicago Blackhawks to bring them back into contention, bring them back into the playoffs. And he's a big reason why the Blackhawks have won 2 Stanley Cups in the past 5 years. So I think that the Blackhawks have a really big issue here, because you sign Brent Seabrook, you add $3 million more on his contract, and then all those other players that I mentioned don't have any space. And you can give a break for Brad Richards or Michael Roosevelt or Carcillo, who mainly Richards and Roosevelt, they're slowing down. Michael Roosevelt is getting up there in age. Brad Richards doesn't have the legs behind him that he used to have. He still has the shot, still has the hockey sense, still could be a very valuable third, fourth liner. But I think the Blackhawks can afford not having Brad Richards, especially if they have the pieces in the minors and the juniors that can really keep them together. I think Brendan Saad, Marcus Kruger, Van Riemsdyk, the defenseman, Tuevo Tevarainen, all these players could be, the very big future Patrick Haynes and Jonathan Taves of the Chicago Blackhawks. So I think that really it's in the best interest for them to re-sign Brent Seabrook and unfortunately give up one of the commodities that they have this year. You look at the same thing in 2010. They had a similar situation. They had to let go of some key players, Dustin Byfuglien, Andrew Ladd. A lot of those guys were key, components to the 2010 championship. So we'll see the same thing happen. Doesn't mean they're not going to be a good team. I think any team where you have Jonathan Taves and Patrick Sharp and Duncan Keith, I think that's where you could possibly be big contenders for a Stanley Cup. And then the second team, the second team you look at, it's definitely a big, regarding the Boston Bruins. You look at them, and they have $56.4 million invested in 14 players, very similar to the Chicago Blackhawks. And you look at the Bruins, they kind of have a similar dynamic, a little bit bigger up front. But Torrey Krug, Riley Smith contracts, and next year they're with arbitration, so they have a right to look around teams. Dougie Hamilton, Adam McQuaid, Gregory Campbell, Carl Soderberg, Daniel Paille, they're all free agents next year. Who knows what the Bruins are going to do? They have to sign Torrey Krug and Dougie Hamilton. Those are the future. That's the future of your team. You look at them; they have a tremendous skill. They can play. Pass the puck. Dougie Hamilton has great offensive skill. Torrey Krug, remember a few years ago against the Rangers, he scored 4 goals in 4 straight games. these are good players. Adam McQuaid adds a lot of toughness in the back end, a lot of size and skill. Gregory Campbell, Carl Soderberg, very good role players. Daniel Pye is the same way. He's been in the league for a few years, more than a few years, and I think he's a very valuable part. The problem is, where do you these players, maybe even Torrey Krug and Dougie Hamilton, Riley Smith, they're all asked for upgrades in their contract. So that's where you have to say, where are we going to fit in that, $2.6 million to satisfy everyone's needs? And unfortunately, sometimes, welcome to, the big business and the talking big trade and everything. But, sometimes people's needs don't get met. And, it's a possibility. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But you look at the possibility on Zdeno Chara. Could he be traded? You look at the injuries he's had. He has the knee injury now. The Bruins have won 5 of the last 6 games that Zdeno Chara hasn't been in the lineup for. Do I think it's going to happen? Nah, not at all. But I think it's interesting to talk about. Zdeno Chara's obviously getting older. He's not. He's at 23, 24. He's up there in the upper 30s. So you look at the possibilities that Zdeno Chara could very well be traded in the future, if not not renewed for his contract. I'm not exactly sure what his contract goes up to, but I think that he definitely can fit any role for the NHL, where he at least can be, one of your veteran defensemen. So I mean, he can still shoot the puck. He has, he's captain of the Bruins. Doesn't change anything. I really don't think it's going to happen at all this year. Maybe not even next year. I'm just saying he's getting older in age. It is an interesting topic to talk about. So I just wanted to put that out there. See what happens. And then, for anyone wondering why I have this ugly beard on, it's No Shave November. I'm doing it actually for St. Baldrick's for the Gallic Society. So, anyone who's doing it, awesome. November 23rd, I believe, on the Spellman Cloister. I'll announce it in my next show. It's a really, really good cause. Shaving your head, grow out the beard, donate money, do whatever you have to do. Really fight against the awful parts of cancer. I just wanted to put that all out there. The NHL has a really good leadership sponsorship with fighting cancer. And you look at a lot of the Class C players, goalies put their pads pink and everything, supporting the defeating of breast cancer. So I just want to spit that out there before I went to my next topic. And then you look, who's for real? The Flames or the Predators. I talked about this in the beginning of my show. It's you look at both teams, and they do have the possibility, both of them do, to really make the playoffs. And you look at the Predators. It's the first, I think it's the longest stretch they've been without a playoff spot since 2011. And they entered the league in 1998. So obviously, Nashville has been, a successful expansion team the last 10, 15 years. But you have to, I think the drive to make the playoffs. I'm not going to make any cases now. It's November. There's still 5-6 months left of hockey to play. But Nashville definitely looks like they could really contend with the Central, with the Blues, and even Winnipeg is 8-5-2. 18 points. They're better than the Blackhawks right now. We look at that whole Central Division: St. Louis, Chicago, Minnesota, Colorado, Dallas. Dallas has been off to a slow start, but don't underestimate Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. All these stacked players. Each team has someone to deal with. But you have to really be impressed about how well the Nashville Predators have been doing. With guys like Seth Jones, Shea Weber, Vezina finalist Pekka Rinne. All these players have really stepped up to the plate. They're playing really, really well. And then you look at the Flames. They have 20 points, 9-5-2. They're basically neck and neck in a little bit tougher Pacific Division. Anaheim, still looking good. Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry, especially Corey Perry, has been lining it up, getting 2 hat tricks in the past 3 games. The Vancouver Canucks have really improved their play from last year. I think they're really growing from the strict coaching of John Tortorella. So I think the Vancouver Canucks are going to continue to do well. We all know the reigning Stanley Cup champions, Los Angeles Kings, Andrei Kopitar, Jonathan Quick, Justin Brown. All these players have played fantastic. San Jose is 5th place in the Pacific, but they're 8-6-2. Joe Thornton, Tomas Hertl, all these players are all legitimate. I'm sorry, that was weird. Arizona, the Coyotes, and Edmonton. Now we'll get to Edmonton soon after the commercial break, because I have something to say about them. But it's I think Calgary, especially Mike Giordano, who I think is a very, very underrated defenseman. The past 3, 4, 5 years has been one of the most consistent defensemen in the NHL. Has really proven himself to be a captain, and he's taking a recent total of 7.2 shots per game. That was his lifetime. This season is making 13 shots per game, which almost pretty much, or not 13 shots, but shot attempts. That's a 6-shot increase. So that he's trying to improve his offensive abilities. But I think that especially Jonas Hiller too really helps Calgary. Johnny Gaudreau has really showed some serious skill. So I think that I really couldn't tell you who I think is more legit. The Flames or the Predators. I think I'm happy that the Flames are doing well, and I think that even if they don't, really cash in on a great opportunity to do a lot better, that their owners have deep pockets. They can probably make a big splash or some type of noise during the off season to really help out the cause in Calgary, because I know that the Flames haven't made the playoffs since 2009. The fans are hungry. Fans are loyal. Like all NHL fans, but the fans in Calgary especially are very loyal. Have been by their team, even though it's not exciting hockey. They have really supported the Flames' cause. So I look at nothing but and hope for nothing but good things for the Calgary Flames. Moving on to the next topic. As I discussed, the power rankings for the NHL have came out, and I think that the number one team. I'll discuss the top. Well, they're all the way to 30. So I'll name the top 10. At number 1 sits Pittsburgh. Number 2 Tampa Bay. 3 is Nashville. 4 is Vancouver, and then Anaheim, St. Louis. 7 is Montreal, 8 is Boston, Calgary is at 9, and 10 is Toronto. And I kind of support the first 5. Usually I think that the power rankings are a little bit biased towards the Chicago Blackhawks. That's just my opinion. But we go to I lost the tab. There we go. Pittsburgh, Sidney Crosby is on an absolute rampage, scoring Mary Lemieux-like numbers, has 24 points in just 13 games. He's on pace for 151 points. 151 points would be the highest total since Crosby's boss, Mario Lemieux, in 95-96. Obviously that year he scored 161, but 151 points is ludicrous. How skilled he is, and honestly, anyone who says Sidney Crosby is not the best player in the NHL, not the face of hockey in North America, in the world, is absolutely insane. Because Sidney Crosby has so much skill, is a factor every time he comes on the ice. Is literally getting 3 points per game. I don't know how you cannot call him the Mr. Hockey. How he's not one of the best players of our generation, because he is. And then you look at Tampa Bay, and all the goals they're scoring. They've scored at least 4 goals in the past 6 games. You can thank that to Steven Stamkos. All these They have a lot of offensive weapons that they can utilize. And, they're right behind the Penguins. I really think they're going to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Big surprise is Tyler Johnson, the center. 18 points in 15 games. Valtteri Filppula has been playing really well. Nikita Kucherov, 13 points in 15 games. Ryan Callahan has been a stud. Really makes me miss him. I wish he was back. Jonathan Drouin has been a very pleasant surprise. 7 points in 10 games. Every single player is contributing. I really think that the additions they got from the Rangers have really helped add a lot of depth to the lineup. But so far, hats off to the Lightning. They're playing beautiful hockey right now. You can't really ask anything more from them, just that they continue playing well. And then 3 Nashville, we talked about this. Scored 26 goals, allowing 14 5-on-5, plus 12 differential. That's fantastic. They finished last season with a minus 21 in that department. It's not really that good, but that's last season. This is the new season. You look at Anaheim too. Vancouver has been fantastic. Nick Bonino, he played a great game against the Anaheim Ducks. Ryan Kessler played well. They defeated the Ducks, played very well. Anaheim, we talked about Corey Perry is playing fantastic. And he recently has been diagnosed with the flu, so hopefully he gets better. He recovers from that. St. Louis, Vladimir Tarasenko, completely forgot to talk about him. Yuri Letera, all these players, Jaden Schwartz, but especially Vladimir Tarasenko has been absolutely lights out, fantastic. Scored possibly a goal of the year candidate against the New York Rangers. Did the same thing a few days later against New Jersey and St. Louis. The kid is real. The kid's a legit player. Can easily be a huge factor for the Blues and really help them go out to the playoffs and really make a push. And they've, all those 3 players, Yuri Letera, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Jaden Schwartz, have accounted for 11 of the 15 goals that the Blues have had thus far the past couple of games, which is insane. So I think that was a very interesting case to make for the NHL teams. I do think that it is early in the season, so I think there's really no need to rush so far. I think we just need to take our time, see what happens. But for the top 10 teams, really, hats off to you. You're doing a great job. We're going to take a little bit of a break right now, and I think we should be talking about the Rangers, unfortunately, discussing some of the actions that took place last night, the atrocity that was the 3-1 loss to the Edmonton Oilers at Madison Square Garden. So we will continue to talk about that, what needs to be done, who's responsible, and we'll continue with that, so stick with us.
WICR presents This Moment in History.
The date, June 14th, 1994.
The 1994 Stanley Cup Championship Final. One game. Winner takes all.
The New York Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks faced off at Madison Square Garden for Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, where the Blue Shirts were looking to end their 54-year-old curse of not winning the Stanley Cup, with clutch goaltending from Mike Richter.
Save